Hello, welcome to Shad Life. It is just crazy to think that I was riding in 75-degree temperatures yesterday on all dirt. Like there were maybe two like kind of wet spots that were like 10 to 15 feet long on like the north slope of one of the trails, but like the entire system out there at the XL Energy Mountain Bike Park was dry. It has a lot to do with the fact that they built it as an all-weather trail. So it's got like kind of a, I don't want to say gravel, maybe like some kind of dirt rock mixture they put on the trail surface everywhere. And it really does help and allow us to have some early season riding while we wait for the rest of the trails to dry out. But what's surprising, and coming back to my original thing here, is it was 75 degrees yesterday. We got some rain overnight, huge storms south of us in southern states, I mean. And then today, the temperature's dropping all day long, and it's going to end up being 30 degrees by later this afternoon, and the possibility of some snow. With that being said, I need some coffee. So you got to be pretty hardy to live here in Minnesota and be able to adjust. The problem with these kind of swings in weather is it's usually when I have the tendency to get sick, and it's just because my body just can't cope with these drastic temperature changes. So I do my best to, try not to get sick, but it happens. So rode the NORCO. That was super fun. And I, really love how that bike rides. I'm actually quite surprised. Of course, I have it hanging here with my collection, but I want to take it down. The rear shock is kind of my concern. I don't feel like, if you see where the ring is, it's all the way at the bottom. I don't feel like the kind of riding I was doing yesterday should have used up all the travel. I also noticed when I was putting air pressure in it that it was really hard to push with the pump. So I'm going to pull it down and take a look at it and see if maybe I'll let all the air out and then re-put air in it or something, and then give it some compressions to balance out the negative and positive or whatever. I don't know. I'm going to play around with it, see if I can improve the shock a little bit, because it isn't feeling quite how I want it to feel, and I don't feel like I should be using up almost all the travel. Okay, first things first, let's see what pressure is in here. Of course, I'll just cut this part out. Yeah, so it's at 225, maybe 230. It's not that precise. Oh yeah, it is. It's 230, which is way lower. Let's see here. Wow, it's hard to get air in there though. But this shock can go up to 300 and something. Yeah, max 360. So I'm probably going to want it at least 300, maybe 320. But I just, getting it there, I thought I had it up. Yeah. Maybe I need a better shock pump. I don't know. Oh my gosh. It's at 300 now. Wow, that's really hard. We'll check sag on that. Whew. And you hear a little air come out, but they say that that's not coming out of the shock. It's coming out of here, but there's times I don't necessarily trust that. But we will see. Whew. All right, I'm going to take this out of the stand and check sag. Hold on. Okay, so this is where sag was at. So, about 30%, which is where I want it. So that's good. It was at closer to 40% before. So I think what happened was I put the air in it. I tried to cycle it to get the negative air set up, but it probably wasn't until I started riding that I got the full chambers balanced, and that lowered the main air pressure. So now it feels more supportive when I sit on it and kind of jump around on it. So that might have been the issue. So I might have solved it right there. So yeah, I think that'll make this ride just a little bit better. I mean, it rode really good yesterday, but I did feel like it was like too soft and a little too squishy in the rear for my liking. And with the riding I was doing yesterday, I should not have been using all the travel. Like, I did a decent amount of jumping, but I didn't case a single landing. I cleared everything because this bike just flies super nice and easy. I was actually quite surprised. Like, even my first run through the jump line, when I was concerned about the wind, I didn't even go that fast, but I had no problem just popping and clearing the jumps. And then on my next couple of runs, it was just like a breeze. So without casing, I just shouldn't be using all the travel. It would make sense if I cased a landing or something like that, but that trail, there's nothing in there that's gnarly enough to be using the whole travel of this. So hopefully this will be a little more supportive. But aside from that one thing, and I mentioned it in the video yesterday, that it did feel a little too plush, too soft. Aside from that, I mean, this bike, it is awesome. And I know I say that a lot about bikes that I ride when I get a new bike or whatever, but this truly is really, you know, over the last few years, I've ridden a lot of different bikes. So I'd say my Salsa Rustler was one that I really liked. And then I kind of went into getting stuff that's a little longer, a little more modern or whatever, 29-inch wheels instead of 27.5, things like that. And they just weren't quite giving me that feeling that the Rustler had, and I really liked the Salsa Rustler, and I really liked the 27.5 wheels. But this bike with 29-inch wheels feels a lot like the Rustler did. Like, it has that same just really agile, you know, I keep saying the word poppy feel. I guess I don't know how else to describe it. Like, when you preload and come off a jump, it just wants to go. You don't have to yank and really super hard preload and do all this like stuff that you do with these longer, bigger bikes to get it to launch. So let me just talk a little bit about this longer, bigger thing, because I think I talk a lot about it on my channel. If you're wandering around YouTube, right, like we all do, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. And you see, let's just say, it is a Dark Fest or the Audi 9s. It's not Audi 9s anymore, it's Swatch 9s, I guess. You know, stuff like that where these riders or even some of the downhill events are hitting these big, long floater jumps. It totally makes sense that you want a long, low slack bike, because Now we're leaning more into like motocross style jumps, right? And almost motocross style riding, like how you ride that stuff. And you're going really fast. The lips are gradual launchers. They're long, big, long, gradual launchers. They're not tighter, more, smaller, medium-sized jumps. They're big floater launchers. Then it makes sense, right? But when you get to what most jumps are like at most trails, that I would consider, intermediate and even some more advanced jumps, like, I think of places, at least locally, when I think of Monarch, they have the 2 different jump lines there. And then even in Bentonville, like, yeah, there's a couple of big, long floater jump lines, but most of the jumps in Bentonville are more medium, what I would consider medium size in today's world, which would have been a big jump back in the day, but in today's world, medium. So that's why, for most of us, most of the kind of riding, you want something more like this, something that's more agile, more, like I use the word poppy a lot, right? Something you can maneuver, something the front end comes up easier, things like that. You don't need a long, low, slack bike, and they're actually detrimental to riding these, like the jumps I was riding yesterday, and most jumps for that matter. So it's really like when I talk about the bike industry pushing in one direction, they're pushing in this direction of these like top level pro riders doing these massive 30, 40, 50 foot gap. I think one of them was 100 and something, like huge jumps that like are motocross size, right? And that's just not what most of us are riding or willing to ride. So the bike industry needs to stop thinking that that's what everybody needs because we don't. Like, this bike is so good, and it's where we need to be for most bikes, for consumers to be riding. And I actually ran into some other people that had NORCO fluids, aluminum ones, and they love them. They all bought the NORCO fluid. This right here, like, NORCO has this formula figured out. So enough on that. But yeah, I'm glad I got the shock working, and it's, can't wait to get it out in the dirt again, but it's going to be a while because, like I said at the beginning of the video, temperatures are dropping. We might get snow again. It is only mid-March. This is not when we get out and riding on the dirt. That's a rare thing that happened yesterday. But we might be mid-April before I see dirt again. I don't know. Yep, we'll see what the weather has to say about that. Awesome. I appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace. Subscribe. Peace. I think I need more coffee.